What? Uh, you can't be serious here. I thought I was dreaming this morning. When my alarm goes off at 6 o'clock every morning, the very first thing I do is check my email and my YouTube analytics from the night before. Most mornings, my phone is filled with notifications. I'm looking through my notifications this morning along with my emails, and I kept seeing the same thing. WNBA set to announce a new exciting expansion deal. Expansion? Don't you mean contraction? Look, I am no expert in business, but I was a part of a company during a time of expansion. When I worked for my previous employer, and God willing, the final employer of my lifetime, my last 2 or 3 years with the company took place during a major expansion. Now, although I didn't always agree with their decisions, hell, most of the time I didn't agree with their decisions, this was actually one of the choices that they made that I agreed with. I understood why they were expanding. The company was heavily reliant on the oil and gas industry. Their plan for expansion was to open locations throughout the state of Texas. I mean, that is a no-brainer, right? But in order for them to have the capital to expand, the rest of the company, it needed to be in a prolonged period of sustainable growth. The owner didn't just wake up one morning and say, "I'm going to Texas." He needed the profitability and growth of the legacy branches over a sustained period of time to confirm that expansion was actually the right decision for the business. And to his credit, it was. It worked out. A couple of months ago, I went by and visited with some of my old co-workers. Company is doing very, very well. Good for them. But the point is, the owner, he took a growing company, a profitable growing company, and he expanded it. If the company was losing money, if 80% of the locations were operating at a loss, do you think he is making the decision to expand? No. So I was incredibly confused this morning when I heard the news that the Duchess of Dump Divas, Cathy Engelbert, is set to announce an expansion of the WNBA dump this afternoon. Now, to be completely fair, there is a huge difference between my former company and the WNBA. My former employer, they didn't have the benefit of being subsidized. He had to expand the old-fashioned way. He had to earn it. The dump, they had the benefit of falling back on the multi-billion-dollar bank account of the NBA. Later this afternoon, and it might be announced by the time you guys are seeing this video, Cathy Engelbert, she is going to announce the grand opening of a brand new dump in San Francisco. Now, on one hand, I can kind of understand the logic here. If there is any city in America that is in desperate need of additional trash processing, it's the city of San Francisco. I mean, you can't walk the streets of San Francisco without stepping over a variety of trash. Scraps of food, some of which has already been processed by the human body. There's plenty of discarded paper and plastic. Now, since the Bay Area is so concerned about the environment, the paper and plastic, it's separated on the street to make it easier to collect. Now, in that sense, I can kind of understand the need for a dump in San Francisco, but from a pure business perspective, I just don't get it. Some of my business experts, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I thought businesses that decide to expand are profitable businesses. I thought businesses that decide to expand are growing businesses. Last I checked, the WNBA does not meet either one of those standards. Well, Casey, that's simply not true. Attendance in the WNBA was incredible this season. It was their best year since 2018. Yeah, that's the shit sandwich they're serving you. The WNBA, along with their propagandists in the mainstream media, they have polished that turd really nice. It almost looks appealing until you bite into it. Yes, this was the most attended season in the dump since 2018. But 2 of those years, they were wiped out by the Fauci fungus. The few dozen fans who were actually interested in attending, they weren't allowed to attend. Hell, they even had a hard time playing the 2020 season. Some dump divers, they were afraid to work without the benefit of a mask. It was difficult for human resources to find masks for some of them because the beards were so overgrown. One of the justifications that they are using for expansion is the 16% growth in attendance this past season. What they're not telling you is last season, the season they're comparing that growth to, last season was the lowest attended season in the 27-year history of the WNBA. The past 5 years have all been record-breaking lows. Let me show you something. Check out this attendance graph. This graph, it shows historical attendance for every season of the WNBA until 2022. Now, I don't need a degree from Wharton Business School to come to the conclusion that this league is not experiencing growth. Someone please explain to me how adding another 1 or 2 dumps is going to fix the attendance problem in the WNBA. Well, Casey, expansion teams will give new opportunities to talented players who aren't making current rosters. Talented players? Do I need to show you guys the video again highlighting the so-called talent throughout the WNBA? I really don't think it's necessary because most of you guys have seen it countless times. It takes so much talent to airball layups. It takes unbelievable athleticism to attempt uncontested dunks in the wrong basket. Now, to be fair, there are some very talented basketball players in the WNBA, but it's not like there's this level of overflowing talent in this league that's not being given opportunities because roster spots are so limited. Hell, the WNBA can barely convince talented players to leave college and get drafted. I saw a report this morning where Caitlin Clark from Iowa, she is thinking about staying in college for her 5th year of eligibility. She wants to play this year and next year. She wants to stay in college for an additional 2 years. Now, the dudes in college basketball, they can't get to the NBA fast enough. The women in college basketball, they are begging not to leave. Speaking of players, how do you think WNBA players feel about expansion? I'm sure some of them are fine with it, but how do you think most of them feel about it? What are the 2 biggest complaints in this league? One, the minimum wage salaries. Most dump divers are barely making 6 figures. 2, players are constantly complaining about the accommodations. They want better hotels. WNBA players are tired of staying in hotel rooms on the road that are rented by the hour. They are tired of sitting next to the restrooms on the Greyhound bus. Those lucky enough to fly to road games, they are packed at the bottom of the plane with the luggage. For years now, WNBA players have been pressuring the league for chartered airfare. How is that fantasy going to become a reality when the league is now responsible for paying additional teams and players, coaches? Since Cathy Engelbert took over as WNBA commissioner, her number 1 goal has been to grow the league. I guess since she is struggling to grow their television ratings and attendance and revenue, the Duchess figured the best way to give the perception of growth was to expand the league. But this is nothing but window dressing. This is an illusion. I have been telling you guys for years now that the WNBA is furthering their own demise. For starters, the only reason the WNBA is even in the position to expand is this influx of sympathy money they've received the last 2 years. Do you guys remember what happened to the business of mythical racism? That business was also benefited by an influx of sympathy money. But what happened when the sympathy money ran out? The business went bankrupt. I got to wondering this morning. I wanted to know how many of the current WNBA dumps were profitable. For some reason, Cathy Engelbert is hiding the financials of the WNBA. She doesn't want you to know the value of the team. She doesn't want you to know the value of the league. Now, the Duchess claims that the WNBA is worth over $1 billion. $1 billion with a B. Now, I cross-checked that number through a couple of sources. They claim the league is valued closer to $450 million. Me personally, I think that number is too high. I think that number is inflated. If I were to give the WNBA a valuation, I would value the league at 450 pesos. Now, according to The Athletic, several inside sources from the WNBA, they told them that very, very, very few WNBA teams are profitable. And when they say very few, I think what they mean is none. One source who is familiar with running a WNBA franchise, they told The Athletic that the ultimate goal for WNBA teams is to break even. Break even. Their goal isn't to make money. Their goal isn't to be profitable. It's to break even. You know why I think that is? If these dumps actually figured out a way to be profitable, they would no longer be a tax write-off to the NBA. I also wanted to know how much WNBA dumps were worth. Since the league is expanding, I would expect individual teams to be valued at hundreds of millions of dollars, or at minimum tens of millions. According to The Athletic, the average dump is worth $44 million. Now, I found that valuation to be confusing. Back in 2009, the Detroit Dongs, they were sold for $5 million. But according to Cathy Engelbert, that was a long time ago. Our dumps are worth far more money today. Now, obviously, that quote is not verbatim, but when she was talking to The Athletic about the value of WNBA teams, and they mentioned several teams who were worthless, that was the response given by Cathy Engelbert. She claimed that past sales of teams could not be considered today because they happened so long ago. In recent years, the New York Storks, the Atlanta Dreamers, and the Las Vegas Anonymous Faces, they have all been sold. What was the sale price? Well, the Storks, they were basically given away for free. According to league sources, little to no money changed hands when the team was sold to Joe Tsai. And the only reason he took over the team was because he was absolutely begged by the NBA to do it. The franchise sat on the open market for more than 14 months before they could convince someone to take over the dump. Now, as far as the Atlanta Dreamers are concerned, if you had the polished turd in one hand and the Dreamers in the other, the polished turd would be worth more. Raiders owner Mark Davis, he bought the Anonymous Faces last year for the unbelievably expensive price of $2 million. $2 million. There are houses in your city worth far more than $2 million. But according to Cathy Engelbert, we can't use these valuations. We can't use them. No. They happened so long ago. Yeah. So long ago. A whole year. The truth is, this league has no business expanding. You don't expand an unprofitable business. Just because you have been given sympathy money, that does not mean you're profitable. Just because you've finally convinced people to invest in the dump, that does not make you profitable. Eventually, those investors, they are going to expect a return on their investment. How are you going to give them that return? Like I said earlier, the WNBA is hastening their own demise. This league, they have been given 27 years to succeed. 27 years to find a way to generate 1 peso in profit. It's never happened. How is this possible? How is the WNBA still in business? There's not another business in America that can be unprofitable 27 consecutive years and still remain open for business. This is socialism at its finest, taking from the rich, which in this case is the NBA, and propping up the poor, all in the name of equity. Oh, equity, yeah. If this league ever stops benefiting the NBA, you'll see just how much they care about equity. But what do you guys think? The WNBA, they are going to expand. There will be at least one team added in San Francisco and possibly another somewhere else. Hell, maybe one of you guys will be lucky. Maybe you'll be living in a city with the best trash collectors in America. Now, I am sure some of you guys are far more familiar with business than I am. Let me know, am I off base here? Make it make sense to me. How can you justify expanding the WNBA? They can't even fill the high school gyms that they're currently playing in. Ratings suck. Attendance the past 5 years has been on a downward spiral. How is expanding the league going to fix any of these problems? It just doesn't make business sense to me. Maybe you can explain it to me. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. You guys know the drill. I appreciate you guys and your support. Follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84, and I'll see you guys later.